us. My name is Damilare, and I'm going to be your host for this event. Before we go into the event proper, I just want to, get to know us. So on your screen, you see a QR code, and I want everyone to scan that QR code. And basically, I see some people are already scanning the code. So basically, I want to know what you do, and I want you to describe what you do without telling me the title of your job, of course. So, for example, someone has export dashboards to Excel. Someone to like connect spaghetti code, Rusty APIs, and switching models into pipeline that somehow works, and sometimes even scale. So, let's just let's scan the QR code, and I want to know what you do. Without you telling me what you do. So I'll be waiting for your input. I want to see people scan that QR code. Can you see the QR code okay? Let me know if you have issues seeing my screen. I'm waiting for inputs. Okay, still waiting, still waiting. We have about 3 minutes to do this. I'm just trying to get to know everyone that's on this call as much as I can. Scan my QR code, please. If you're just joining, we're scanning the QR code on our screen to sort of introduce ourselves by telling us about your job, telling us what you do, without actually, telling us the title of your job. Okay. I don't quite get that, but someone needs to comment irrigation now. Still waiting, still waiting. Let's participate. Don't be an onlooker. If someone takes people's random ideas, mixes and masters them with SQL, Python, and then provide meaningful and measurable insights. Yeah, very important. Build reports to solve management data needs. And so one's job is, can you see my screen? Interesting. That's kind of like my job as well. Meetings and meetings. Anyone else still going? We have about 2 minutes to do this before we jump into the event proper. So just joining, my name is Damilare. You can call me Dami if Damilare is too much for you. The host for today. And we're just doing this icebreaker activity. We're telling each other about each other's jobs without actually, using the title of our jobs. Two minutes more, and then I will start introducing the event. Well, if you want to scan, if you can't really scan, I have the QR code bigger here. So you can scan it out as well here. If the other one is too tiny for you. Waiting for you to scan. We have 1 minute more to do this. Who's typing? Typing. Interesting. Somebody connects Google Sheets to Lucas Studio and then create presentation slides for stakeholders. That's nice. That's nice. That's cool. Any takers before I proceed? Okay, 5 minute mark. And I would just go to my playing with anti-gravity and data form. Yeah, I also did something on anti-gravity recently. I tried to build a portfolio using anti-gravity, and it's really cool. My favorite feature is where the agent actually creates a web browser and can see what's going on in the web browser and make tweaks, you know, while just responding to what's on the web browser. So yeah, that's like my favorite, feature of anti-gravity, and it's really cool. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'll go back to the poll later. Good evening, everyone. My name is Damilare, and first of all, thank you for being here. Just before we proceed, I just want you to know something right from the start, that this is not just another tech meetup or a product demo. This is like the slide says, this is something different. Now, first of all, our meetup is called the Lagos Colab BigQuery and AI Agents Meetup, and I'm here to basically introduce the meetup because this is our first virtual event. So I'd like to start with a bit of backstory as to how this got started. So a few months ago, I was working remotely in Nairobi, Kenya, and I connected while on the job with a colleague of mine, Riff, who you're going to meet during the call. And Riff has been in data for about 25 years, which is longer than I have been reading. And from getting to know him, I see that he wrote his first SQL like in the 90s, which is really impressive, right? I was only a child then. And one thing that's basically brought us together is, one, we're from different backgrounds, different eras, different continents also. But when we started speaking, we realized that we see data same way, right? We basically don't care about tools, we don't care about demos. Basically, one thing we both aligned on was that we cared about the outcomes more than the tools. So basically, we saw data as an input for solving real problems, and that was something that sort of brought us together. So basically, we care about building things that actually work, not just things that look good. So basically, when Reef and I came together to talk about creating a community for data, basically, one thing that we both aligned on was that we wanted to build solutions. So basically, we are solutions first. We also wanted to build a community that's focused on end-to-end thinking. We also want to build a builders community. So basically, we're not just building a visual community where we demo tools and talk about tools, but the community would be focused on building things that actually work. Now, 1 minute, trying to go down in my slide. So basically, I am referring together and talked about starting this community, which we're calling the Lagos Colab BigQuery and AI Agents Meetup. And I'll introduce myself. My name is Damilare Abolaji. I'll be serving as the chairperson and community lead on the community. I have about 8 years experience in data, worked as a data analyst, BI developer, and I currently work as an analytics engineer in a fintech company. I would allow Reef come up and introduce himself, say 1 or 2 things about himself before I go on with my presentation. Reef, are you okay to come up?
Cool. Hey everyone. Thanks for coming along to the first user group meeting, virtual, and hopefully soon to be in person as well. So I used to run a user group as well for Google, for Google Cloud back when back in 2014 in London as well. Really excited to get involved in the group, and yeah, really wanted to focus more on BI as a whole solution. Google's got lots and lots of products, and sometimes it can be quite not clear about how to turn all those different products into solutions end to end. Google's very good at like being a product company, but sometimes not very easy to understand how all these things come together. And obviously, we're in exciting times right now with AI, and what we can do with AI and data, so that we don't have to do so much of the raw work or the raw coding or the raw cleaning up of data. Hopefully, we can use these tools to do that. So super excited and really happy to get involved. I was super keen as soon as I saw a message on LinkedIn about this community wanting to start and wanting to help out. So that's me.
Okay, thank you, Rick. I'll just carry on with my presentation, and I'll be talking about why do we care about building this community. First of all, I'll start by saying I love data, not just like data. I know it may sound weird saying I love data, but I do love data because one thing I've noticed in my experience is that data turns complexity to clarity, right? So basically, we live in a world where um, we're drowning in information. There's this data overload, I'm call it that, everywhere, noise everywhere. But then data, when it is clean, when it is trusted, when it is well structured, it cuts through all that noise and it actually tells you what's actually happening. Simply put, it helps you make better decisions. It gives you confidence when everyone else is, should I say, guessing. And the thing is, this is not just my personal philosophy. The fact that data actually, turns complexity to clarity and gives you sense of confidence in your decision. It's also Google's mission, sort of. Google's mission basically is to organize the world's information and make it universally available and useful. So basically, the goal is to organize, make it accessible, and make it useful. And that's exactly what we do as data professionals. We organize messy information. We make it accessible to decision makers and we make it useful for businesses. So when I think of why we're building this community, I think about that mission, and basically it's like our North Star. It's what sort of guides this community. We want to be able to make data accessible, clean, and useful. But then, taking it one step further, right? Clean data in 2025 isn't just a BI problem anymore. Really, it's not just about dashboards anymore. That used to be a problem where we just data professionals basically just used to report data, and that was just the essence of cleaning data. But right now, it's not BI, it's not BI problem anymore, because clean and trusted data is is really the foundation for everything. Because with clean and trusted data, now we have we make better decisions, we have better products, we have better AI models, which is something that has been becoming quite popular these days. Better AI models, right? So basically, the same data you use to power your Looker dashboards, for example, is the same AI model that is feeding into your ML models, and that same data is training your AI agent. So if your data is messy, basically, your AI prediction would most likely definitely be messy. So again, going back to the question, why do we care? Short answer is you should care about data and its quality because it's not an option anymore. It's not optional anymore. It should be the Foundation. So basically, that's why these communities focus on building clean data, building solutions, because again, it's the fundamental. It's not just an option anymore. Now, what has changed so far? Headline says data now powers decisions and models. So that's a big change that has happened, right now. 10 years ago, like I said, data was about reporting, you just telling your stakeholders what happened last quarter, how many units did we sell, what's the revenue trend, etc. But now we moved to forecasting, right? Where we're doing predictive analysis, we're saying what's going to happen next quarter, etc. Right. But now we're in the era of generative AI, like I said earlier, and we're not just predicting anymore. We're generating content, we're building agents, that take action. We're creating systems that reason and respond, right? So we move from forecasting, reporting to forecasting to GenAI, and that's just in 1 decade. So yes, what a lot of people miss, right? The best models usually start as the best data, the most quality data. And you may have like the most sophisticated algorithm, the most powerful GPUs, or even the most advanced LLM. But if your data is garbage, then your model is most likely garbage. And the world is waking up to this. The world is investing heavily in data quality, data governance, semantic layers, etc. And basically, they're not just boring infrastructure projects anymore. They're like strategic priority. So I'm going to close with this. This is why this community exists, right? This is why we are here tonight. Basically, we are not here to just teach you tools. We're here to basically build a solution mindset, and we are here to share what actually works, right, and what doesn't work, right? We're here to basically help each other grow. And in closing, I'm just going to welcome you to the Lagos PI and Lagos Luca, pardon me, BigQuery and AI agents. So I look forward to building something great together with you guys, and hopefully see you guys in upcoming sessions. Thank you. So next on my agenda, I'm going to hand over to Reef. Reef has an interesting topic to discuss with us. So I'm going to just hand over the reins to Reef. Reef, are you okay to carry on?
Sure. Do you want to just make sure you add people to the meeting when it on Google Meet?
Yes.
So cool. So on that note, just regarding the AI side, even though I'm not going to really talk about that too much today, there's a great book out called Empire of AI, and it talks about since OpenAI came out, 5 years before that, maybe like 5 years before that, basically hundreds, maybe up to millions of people from South America and across Africa have actually been cleaning up the whole of the internet data for OpenAI, be it actually just like reading Wikipedia articles and then just cleaning up the data, or literally getting millions and millions of answers coming back from OpenAI when it was still in training to tell it which answer is the correct answer, and which answer is the wrong answer, and why they're right or wrong. So that's been happening, and they were very quiet about that the whole period. The book goes into a lot of detail about all this work that's been done. About that, basically, that without this clean data, none of those models would have ever worked. So today I'm going to really cover Looker and the different versions of Looker that exist, and a bit about BigQuery and Colab. This originally was decided because there seems to be a lot of confusion about how the products compare when there was a discussion between other people for the user group. Someone needs to mute. Is everyone on mute? Yeah, I think so. Cool. Okay. Um, just a little bit about me, a little bit more. So right now I don't work in Nairobi anymore. I work for a New York-based startup that's still in stealth as a ML DevOps engineer. Also Google Developer Expert, which is just a status that Google gives out to just a little bit over 1,000 people over the world, as someone that's certified or recognized for the contributions I do, and also co-founder for this meetup group. I've pasted the link, but if you got any questions for me that I can answer at the end, or if anyone's confused, I'll stop and I can answer them in the middle. But if you go to this link or this QR code, feel free to ask the questions. So when coming up with the user group, as I was talking about, we wanted to talk about solutions versus products, but I wanted to make sure I listed all the products that us as data professionals from Google could be typically interacting with, especially all the new AI stuff that relies heavily on how you configure Looker. So I put that down in the meetup.com website, but I understand this list is not quite easy to consume and understand how it all fits together. But I realize that stakeholders want the correct data. They don't really care. They want the numbers to be trusted. They want them to be reliable. And we might be dealing with any point or multiple points through this ingestion process, and now obviously with agents as well. So just to clarify a little bit on the Looker side before I go into the rest of those products, I'm going to basically use this terminology. So there was a product called Data Studio that got rebranded to be Looker Studio, and that's what probably most people have experienced working with Google as a reporting tool. So it was Data Studio. I'll be just calling it Looker Studio, and then Google acquired a product called Looker back in 2019. I'm not going to be calling that Looker. I'll try not to. I think it's quite confusing. I'll be calling it Looker Enterprise. So Looker Enterprise is not accessible unless you have a license for it. Most people won't be use Looker Enterprise, but I will go to explaining the difference between them. So Looker Studio, Looker Enterprise. I will try not to say the word Looker. I came up with this diagram, and I will go through step by step each of it to sort of lay out how we've got to where we are, so that everyone has a good mental model of what came out and when. I was inspired to do this chart. I was inspired to do this chart because of some work I saw by somebody else for the Microsoft chart that explained all the Microsoft products. So where I was previously working, we were a large Microsoft house. I actually contributed, as you can see in the comments, to make some corrections or some missing components in this. It's a great video. And I know obviously Microsoft is extremely popular, and Power BI is. I heavily recommend having a look at this. But this is where I was inspired from to come up with a diagram. At the beginning, when Google first started, the top products were really what people first experienced with Google. So probably Google Maps was like the big wake up from Google Search came out, Gmail came out, and Google Maps came out, and people could start doing this Web 2.0 mashups, as they were called back then. And then Google Sheets started coming out. So those are sort of like the classic products that people started working with that were web-based and then accessible to everyone, typically. Google Apps Scripts came back out in 2009. And then BigQuery, which is Google's data warehouse product, came out in 2011. So that was like one of the big first Google products. Google App Engine actually should be on here, but Google BigQuery came out as a data warehouse. As you can imagine, Google has tools like Google Analytics and Google's own data. They built their own data warehousing solution to answer the questions at their scale, which is petabytes of data. So even back then, Google was leading in this space. There's the link to ask any questions. Um, so then Looker Studio came out in 2016. Back then it was called Data Studio, and that was a free tool, and it was super popular in the Google Ad Space community or Google advertisers. Um, and then also in 2016, the BigQuery public data sets come out. So Google hosts tons of free public data in BigQuery that you can go and write reports on. This is great for students or people that just want to like add different types of data sets to their current data. Um, and then Google Colabs came out as well, which is a notebook solution for Google for Jupyter notebooks. So something about all of these, which is that these products are all free and also are no credit card tier. So Google was always a big. We always have we used to have meetings with Google way back, and someone brought up that we wanted to make sure that there was no block, even if the product was free and it still provided credit cards. Like my background is from a small island called Cyprus, and I know even there, like having access to a credit card was something that would stop people from using a product because most people don't have one. So on BigQuery, there's a version of BigQuery called Sandbox Mode, which basically means that when you sign up for BigQuery, just if you stay in Sandbox Mode, you'll never have to put your credit card in or any credit card. You'll get 1 terabyte a month for free. So just going through these products and the free no credit card information. So BigQuery, using BigQuery, which for your data warehouse, which is really common with for the backend, if you're using Looker Studio, you get 1 terabyte of data processing a month. And if you stay in sandbox mode, you'll never have to put a credit card in. And once you hit the 1 terabyte, the solution just stops working, and there's no risk of getting any charges. There are some caveats to this, and some features won't work, but most of it will. And then with the public data sets, this is extremely popular in crypto. Google has all the crypto transaction data sets in their public data sets, as well as weather information and loads of other stuff. Um, just be careful when you're using the big data sets like crypto, like one query could use up your whole 1 terabyte in a month. And if you put a credit card in, you could end up getting a massive credit card bill. But those public data sets are well maintained, and a lot of students use this for their projects at any level of the school system. And then Google Colab, which is running Jupyter notebooks. This is free out of the box as well, no credit card required. Only limitation is it's up to 12 gig of RAM to run your Python code. But it does sometimes give you access to GPUs, but it's not guaranteed. So again, if you don't have a powerful machine, or you just want to be able to basically just set up a Jupyter notebook without any knowledge of infrastructure on your local computer, that's there. And then Looker Studio, the majority of it is free, and has always has been free since the beginning. All these products typically work well together. And I would say that, especially for BigQuery, no other company, I don't think other companies are providing solutions where you can't put a credit card in. So this makes Google stand out and extremely popular. Um, so how comes Google can do this? How comes they can offer free solutions? So this is just as people want to get more technical and understand. That BigQuery, sort of like Gmail or like Google Search, is always running. So typically, other data warehouse providers, you actually have to like pick or provision the data warehouse, and it won't be running unless it's sized. But that means it's dedicated, and that's why they typically are charging you. With BigQuery, you have no such concept of sizing the warehouse. Your BigQuery operations are running with Google's own BigQuery queries as well. So you just imagine it as a Gmail, like you don't turn on and off Gmail. It's always running there serverless, and it will just handle the workload. And Google does this and can do this because of these four technologies. I won't go into them in too much detail. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But if you want to do more reading on this subject, Google is super unique here, and this is why, because of these technologies, they can offer those four products for free or have a free tier that requires no credit card. Um, So Looker Studio there, and then Looker, Google acquired Looker, which we're calling Looker Enterprise. And that technology is made up of a bunch of stuff, but the key thing is it has a language called LookML. It people describe it as a semantic layer. I don't think that means much, that word. So I typically call it like a data metrics dictionary. It's a list of all your metrics that you might have in your business in a dictionary that's centrally controlled. So going back into Looker, just so you guys have a clearer idea, the differences between the products. I want you to basically walk away today being super confident that you know the difference. So for Looker Studio versus Looker, I don't know if my cursor shows up or not, but oops. Obviously, the Looker Studio, there is a paid tier of Looker Studio called Looker Studio Pro that has SLAs and allows for more organizational ownership, so that nothing's linked to your direct user account. It's like shared within the company or the workspace. But apart from that, apart from alerting, all the other features between Looker Studio and Looker Studio Pro are the same. The big difference between this and Google Looker, apart from the cost, is that most of the logic in Looker is in the report, where in Looker Enterprise, it's all hosted in LookML. And I will go into LookML and what that looks like. Technical skill, you just need drag and drop for Looker Studio versus Looker Enterprise, where it's all in LookML. You need to have some good knowledge of SQL and Git as well. Data sources, Looker Studio offers hundreds and hundreds of different data sources. Again, extremely popular in the advertising space. So you can connect your like social information from Facebook with your Google adverts, with your Google web traffic. Looker has a lot less, but it has more of the enterprise typical databases. Where I was working before, we had like 20, 30 people all working Looker Enterprise, and that was possible thanks to Git and its Git integration, and that everything was code driven and not drag and drop driven. And that's really one of the main differentiators with Looker Enterprise. And there are some other additions of Looker Enterprise. I won't go into them, but you should know and be aware there's classic, core, self-hosted, and embedded. Most of the time, we're going to be talking about, or people would be talking about classic and core. Classic is the version of Looker before Google acquired the product, and core is the native version of Looker that's built into Google Cloud. You don't have to worry about this, but I know if you come to documentation online, it might not be super clear to you what all the differences are. So yeah, for Looker Studio, we have Looker Studio, Looker Studio Pro, and with Looker Enterprise, we have these additions. I wouldn't get too worried about it if you're just starting out. It's more important depending on, when you're going to be buying something or picking something, then you need to know for sure which version you're going for. Just Looker Embedded, just to make that clear what that is. Typically, when you, let's say you're doing a software as a service type business or startup, and you don't want to build out reporting capabilities, use Looker Embedded so that it's in your product, Looker, and that you can provide reporting in your product, but no one knows it's Looker. And that's what Looker Embedded is for. And then with AI, Gemini, which is obviously Google's GenAI offering, Looker Studio and Looker Enterprise have different features when it comes to how it integrates Gemini with Looker Studio versus Enterprise. The Enterprise version covers more auto code completion, custom visualizations, and the normal Gemini for Looker Studio covers stuff like slide generation. So a lot of people get data and put it into Google Slides. So that's super popular. So what does Look ML look like, and why is it the key thing to think about when you're actually going for Look at Enterprise? So this is what Look ML looks like, and so here on the left hand side, you can see it's defining the status of, let's say, some orders, which is this dimension called status, and then it's also defining the sales price. And then the first metric we have, which is a measure, like we're counting the total number of orders. So that's how you would write a count. And then all the users would see this count and say total number of orders, that's how it's defined. So then metric two, I'm showing this broken down side by side, but you can see the line numbers. Metric two here is taking that count, so line 26, and then adding a filter saying completed orders. So LookML looks like this, and the Looker engine will automatically generate the SQL that's run on the database, depending on which type of database it is. And then metric three, which combines the completed orders. So you can see line 37. So completed orders divided by the count, which is coming from line 17. So these two are inheriting the logic from these others. And this is the data dictionary. So let's say you've got an organization of hundreds and hundreds of users. They don't define any of this. You as a data analytics person or BI person, developer, would define all these, and they're centralized in the system. And so when you ever want to go and change this, you don't go and change every dashboard. You would just change these small lines of code, and that would change fundamentally hundreds of dashboards. And so where I was working before, we could have thousands and thousands of dashboards. We wouldn't have to go and clean that up. We would just go and change these small lines of code. I talk more about this in a blog post, and this is quite different to any of the other products on the market. So typically with those other products, so something like Power BI, or Looker Studio, or every single report has all these logics built into it, and that requires a lot of maintenance, or a lot of out of date reports, and you have to make sure that all those are being fixed. Otherwise, users are experiencing old data, or they'll start getting errors, and that's the big difference between Looker ML. I'm not seeing any questions from anyone. Hopefully the link is working, but maybe I'm just being really clear of what I'm talking about. So let's and then since there's some other features here, so BigQuery ML is the ability inside of BigQuery directly without leaving the product to do machine learning. BigQuery notebooks are the same as Google Colab. It's just built into BigQuery. BigQuery BI engine is a way to speed up your reports with Looker or other tools. It's worth knowing about. It's just a tick box to turn it on and off. It's not a big deal. But then the main stuff that's all come out recently is Gemini. And there's different versions of Gemini with different types of products. So I'm going to quickly go through some of that now. So if you go to BigQuery and go to conversations and then connect it to the data, you can start basically talking to your data, and it will go and write the queries for you automatically, and you can go and see what it's doing. So I wrote a query here: can you forecast the price changes on the most popular products? So it could go and run Python, which is what this advanced analytics tick box does, and then use machine learning code to do statistics, and run Python on top of this query. And it understands all this data because of the descriptions in BigQuery of what the data looks like. So if I go to this table, it's some retail data I have. I'll have a link to this if you guys want it. It's actually, I recently passed a machine learning exam, and I use this retail data. It's about 10 million rows of retail pricing across the UK. So you can actually go and press the generate button, and BigQuery will go and look at the data and start fitting out all these description fields. So this is to me like like if you can't afford Looker, or you don't have LookML, so Looker Enterprise, apologies. This is like the way a lot of people do this. So this is actually one of the most common ways people do it, because most people don't have Looker Enterprise. So they will put all their data into BigQuery, press the generate button, and it will describe what this table is. So this table is, various supermarkets capturing the details of product pricing categories, and then it fills in all these descriptions. You can go and edit these descriptions yourself manually, but you can imagine you have hundreds and hundreds of tables. You can just basically auto-generate these descriptions, and that's how these Conversation analytics understands what, or tries to guess what the data is. If you don't want to use conversation analytics, you can use data agents. And these data agents are similar to conversation analytics. All it lets you do extra on top of that is define, you can see this term down here called golden queries. And these golden queries are examples out of the box of questions, and then the query answers of what Google thinks would be good examples of text to help train your Gen AI models inside of these agents. But you actually go in here and add more. So you can say, like, take the 20 or 30 most common questions that people are going to ask for this set of data, and then write the SQL out for those questions. And then BigQuery or the conversational analytics or the agents will use that as a template to help guide it. So you can imagine some business terms, for example, if I go back to look ML, right, these are all laid out very clearly, but the definition of what a completed order might be, which up here is very simple, it's just got the status completed. Like another business might need 5 statuses to determine what a completed order is, and that might not be obvious to a Gen AI or to a large language model. So that's why you might have to go here and write the golden queries and explain exactly what an order completed means. Otherwise, it will just do the most basic version. You'll get back bad data. Though, again, you can always see here exactly what the query is generated from the question, so that you can go and make edits to this, so that you can have better data agents in the future. And when connecting Looker Studio to BigQuery, I would go in and I can see this retail data as I was just showing you. And it automatically also, again, takes all those descriptions that was generated by BigQuery into Looker Studio, so you don't have to do the work twice. So if you actually spend the time writing the details of the descriptions in BigQuery, it'll get pulled into Looker Studio. And then if I'm in Looker Studio, I can not just from BigQuery and access the conversation analytics, I can also access it from Looker Studio. So I go to Looker Studio, go to conversation analytics. I will start a new conversation. And when I do that, I can connect to Looker. When it says Looker here, this means Looker Enterprise. I can connect to BigQuery. I can connect straight to Google Sheets or upload a file. And that is really me. That is a quick go around of the difference between Looker Studio and Looker Enterprise. And as the first one of our meetings for the user group, I didn't want to go into too much detail until I got more feedback about what you guys want to see and what solutions you guys want to try and build, and hear back from yourselves on where you want to take the community. So I can hand back over. I'll stop sharing.
Hi. Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Rick, for that very, very, very enlightening session. I have, well, one that is, I have 2 questions from the link. One is not really a question, it's more of an observation. But I have 3 questions now. The first is, it looks similar to snowflakes. I'm guessing that's sort of like an observation. The second says, what is the strongest case for choosing data form over DBT in BigQuery? So I'm guessing the person is talking about GCP's data form. There's this data form feature in GCP. So what is the strongest case for choosing that over DBT in BigQuery today? Do you want to pick that?
Sure. So I guess as actually that's actually something I should include into this this chart is data form, which I guess I would put somewhere in the BigQuery box. So that's a good take as well. I've mostly worked with DBT. So the difference between Dataform and DBT. So I think DBT is going to work with lots of databases and it's got a much bigger community. Dataform is much more Google specific as a way to transform data. And if you use Dataform, stuff like in BigQuery, like BigQuery canvases, the lineage features which describe like how the data changes, and Google Dataplex, which is like the catalog. A lot of those products will have basically just activate automatically. Where if you do it in DBT, you won't see those features activate automatically inside of Google. So that would be my first thing. So Dataform, you're going to knock yourself more into Google. But if you know that you have to support more databases, not just BigQuery, DBT might be a better choice. It's just that you're not going to get all these extra out of the box benefits. So I can quickly show where you would see those features. What was the other question?
I think the other two are more of observations. Second says, can we have the reading? The class is very informative. So the other two are more of observations. This is like a direct question. Okay, there's a new question actually. When you're done with this one, then you can go to the
Sure.
new question.
So when I'm in these into BigQuery here, so like stuff like data canvas. Well, first of all, I'm inside of this is the data that I was just showing you guys. So this lineage feature, which describes how the data changes over time. Uh, this this data, if it's from data form, it would show you like you might have had 10 transformations before you get to this step, and this will be much more transparent and stuff. There's also stuff like here, like data quality, and so I can go and view this. Basically, all these features work a lot better with Dataform, but you're locked in. I will say, sorry, I wouldn't say the right term is locked in. I think Dataform works very well with the Google products. I think they're trying their best to. I'm not an expert on it, to be honest. I haven't spent much time with it. They are looking to probably support more databases, but obviously DBT is the first to market, and the community is much wider. So if you're 100% sure you're staying on Google, Dataform probably is a good choice. If you think there's any possibility you need to support multiple things or more complexity, you might have to look at other solutions like DBT. So I hope that answers that part. The next question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I mean by it looks similar to Snowflake. I'm not sure what that means. Question wise, can we have a reading? This class is very reading. I presume that means access to the access to the presentation. So I can definitely share the link to the presentation after the call. Do we have to start over to learn the BI stack? Can you recommend resources for someone? Regarding the how do I start an overview to learn the BI stack? Is that the person that asked that question, if they could just clarify, is that like they have no experience with any of this BI stack, or they have used other tools before? I know there's some Google courses out there. Google courses for data analytics, for example. So data analytics certifications are here. I would definitely have a look at these. I can send these over. So Google, here we go. There's a link called grow.google, and they cover the different certifications Google offer. So there is one on data analytics. Here you go, Google data certifications. This could be a good one. It covers lots of different areas. Yeah, if you, I can try and give some better answers, but if you want to clarify that question, do I need to have the looker to get Gemini generated descriptions? No, the descriptions here, if your data is in BigQuery, when I go to the descriptions, these descriptions written down here, you basically generate them with this button to generate them. So and I hope that answers that question. Building analytics infrastructure for a business, why should I consider Google BI tools over our products to the market? So sorry. The question is, in building analytics infrastructure for a business, why should I consider Google BI tools over our products in the market? There's no simple answer to that question. I guess I would say the easy answer to that would be what is your budget, your complexity, and probably where your data is coming from. If your data is heavily focused on like Google Analytics or Google Ads, like BigQuery is going to be really easy. For example, where I was working before, we had like 1 million. We had I don't know, definitely the numbers out there, but like I think we signed up 1 million customers in the last year that was working, and we're using Firebase with our Android app, so all that data was going into BigQuery. BigQuery, for example, has some unique features that when you import data, if you're importing from CSV files, like the importing costs you nothing. It's free of charge. There's no ingestion, and BigQuery is running all the time. There's no easy answer to that question. I guess if it was like if you asked me questions like Google versus Microsoft or Google versus Tableau, we could get into the nitty gritty of it. We are actually, this is probably a good point. We are going to send out a link to a email discussion forum where you can actually post these questions, and I'll be happy to answer these questions or have a longer threaded discussion to that. So we'll send that link out at the end, and we will basically allow you to post your questions there, and I will spend more time answering them or going backwards and forwards with you guys on those questions. The next question is for a data team of 2 engineers, 3 data analysts, which BI tool? If you can afford to look at enterprise, I would always go and look at enterprise. It's gonna enable a lot more. I would ask, if for 2 engineers or 3 analysts, how many users you got looking at reports, and how many. That would be probably the bigger question to determine the value. Looker Studio is there and it's free, but I would always try and do something that has something like Look ML inside of it. So look enterprise if you can afford it. Yeah. So that'll be my default answer to that. It's just going to be a budgeting issue. The next question is really interesting, building agents. So I wanted to actually spend more time on this. So this yellow box at the bottom should have about 3 or 4 different agent tools that we cover. So Vertex Agent AI Builder, the Agent Engine. These are the tools that we can go into moving forwards on some of the new calls. Agent Development Kit. So these are ones you should try to learn. Highly recommend. But we could go into those also on our next calls. So yeah, I don't have any more questions right now. So I'll leave this screen up. And I will actually be sharing this, and I'll be adding some more boxes into this chart to make it more clear. So
Okay. Thank you very much, Griff. If you the link for the question is still going to be active for a while. So if you have other questions, please just put in your questions. Griff and I will go through them one after the other and respond to them via some medium. So maybe look keep your eyes peeled for emails from the community. Some of them may answer some of the questions that you've asked. I also going to put a link in the chat now, and basically that link is for us to put in suggestions for whatever we would like to be spoken about in subsequent meets. So I'm going to put up that link now. Actually, there's also going to be a QR on your screen pretty soon. So just a minute. So here, that's the so it's also going to be active for a while. So if there's something you'd like to be spoken about or discussed in subsequent meetups, you can just put it in that link, and it would be considered. Anything within the scope, of course, of the community. I'm going to display the link in a minute. Thanks. Share my screen. So you can also scan the QR coming up on your screen right now. You can scan that QR as well, and you can just tell us what topics interest you in our next meet.
Is it worth asking for the physical events? Like, anyone's got any suggestions to reach out, like where to host them?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a good idea, actually. We intend to hold a physical meet pretty soon. So we'd also like suggestions. If you have ideas, if you have any idea where we can host this physical meet, you can just share those ideas with us, and we will take it on. And see, we already have suggestions as well. Can we have a training on Vertex AI? Actually, that's something I actually really learned personally. So yeah,
Cool.
right.
So I pasted the Google Groups link that we're going to be using long term. So everyone feel free to join that Google group. And if you ask questions there, we will get back to you in between of all these events and stuff. But and I'll take some of the questions that were already raised, or feel free to raise them again on the Google group, and then we can have much more of a interactive back and forth where you can follow up on the questions and ask more details. So we wrap up and give everyone an hour back on their Saturday?
Yeah, that would be actually nice to get an hour back. So all the links are active, so please will be expecting feedbacks. Thank you all again for attending, the first meetup. We hope to see you in other meetups. I'd like to chat with and interact with whatever questions you have on the Google groups that the Brief has just shared. I'm looking forward to your questions on Slido as well. So like Brief said, I'll give you an hour back. Thank you all for joining, and see you soon.
Thank you guys for coming on Saturday. Looking forward to make this the best user group for BI around. So excited for this new journey and all the AI stuff coming along. Thanks, guys.